It's one of those stupid little things that gives you about 1 million behaviours. It doesn't fuck up any of your other behaviours. So, when my dog can go to a marker board, it's one of the main reasons I teach this. He goes to the marker board, he clicks, he comes back to me. Right? Who's seen a manners minder? Who doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say manners minder? It's an automatic treat dispenser, right? So it's a little box that you fill with food, and you hit the button and it like and drops food. It's got its own tone, because if you want to turn it on, ding, and the food comes out. They're really good. I think they're 120 bucks or something. Awesome bit of gear. I recommend you get one. So I use the manners minder in this, but you don't necessarily need to use a manners minder. It just means that your dog will have to be on leash. Okay? So my dog can go to the marker board, I click, he comes back. He goes to the marker board, I click, he comes back. Now I introduce another point of reinforcement. That other point of reinforcement is like down here, and I like to use the manners minder. Now imagine for now that this tone is my manners minder dispenser. If you don't have a manners minder, you then have to use like a plate or a piece of food or whatever, right? So you're immediately putting out like, here's a, like you see people use paper plates for this kind of stuff, and there's a piece of food on here, and I tell the dog to go to the marker board, and then I say, get it, right? And the dog learns, he goes out to this marker board for the reward that's away from me, right? Is that a direct reward or an indirect reward? Indirect. Well, it depends where the dog's head is, right? So if I send the dog out and he's looking at me and he's staring right at me and I click, in that moment it's basically a direct reward, right? He's staring at me in the behaviour to get it. And if he's looking at me and I hit the manners minder button and he hears food get dispensed over there, then that's like an indirect reward, right? He's looking at me to earn that. So I've got my dog on the marker board and I have the capacity to reinforce him back to me this way, or I have the capacity to hit the button and he goes and gets his food from over there. And he happily does that, right? I say marker, he goes out there, I click, comes back. I say marker, he goes out there, and I don't give a shit where he's looking. He can be looking at me, or he can be looking at the food that's down there, which is on a plate, or on the manners minder, it doesn't matter. And I say, get it, right? And he goes and gets that. I say marker, click, I say marker, get it. I say marker, click, marker, get it. His head is going to start drifting one way or another, and he's going to start looking where his favourite point of reinforcement is, right? So if you're paying better over here, when he gets onto this marker board, he's going to be looking at you because that's what he wants, right? Or if you're paying better down there, he prefers that reinforcer, he'll be looking down there because that's what he wants, right? Either one doesn't matter. Then one day, he's on the marker board, and I say to him, me, right? Because he is looking at me, and I click, and I pay. I send him out to the marker board. He's looking at me, I say, me, I hit the manners minder, and he goes down there and gets that, right? He goes out to there, he's looking at me, I say, me, he gets it from the manners minder, right? I say, me, he gets it from me. So what's happening is my dog is having named operantly, what we spoke about, that what you're looking at is called me, and then you can be reinforced by either going down there and getting the food out of there, or coming back to me and getting the food from over there. And then if he is looking at the manners minder, or if I want him to be looking downfield at the manners minder, I then just start reinforcing from down there more, and he'll start looking down that way, right? And while he's looking down there, I say helper, and I let him go get it. And while he's looking down there, I say helper, while he's doing it. And he comes this way and get it. If I find that my dog is locked looking one way over another, I just start reinforcing the other way more, right? Because that's where he'll start to look. Where he thinks the reinforcer's coming from is where he can start to look, and that gives me the opportunity to name it. So I have the capacity to send him to the marker board, and now I can start changing between, right? While he's looking at me, I can say helper, and he will look down that way. And if he doesn't look down that way, I just wait until he will, right? If he's staring at me, he's stable on the marker board, and I've said helper, if he hasn't quite picked it up yet, he's staring at me going, come on bro, send me down there, and then I send him straight down there to get it, right? So it doesn't actually take too long at all before I can start putting my dog on the marker board, and while he's there, tell him to either look downfield at the reinforcer that's available down there, or look at me. Why the fuck is this cool to have? Well, in IPO, you transport, right? Back transport, you want to unlock it. The thing is, what everybody does, like in the sports, we want to be able to control our dog's head position while he's in the heel. But if you have, and this is what everybody does, if you've taught your dog a focused heel, in order to control your dog's head position, you have to fuck up your heel. You have to take a step backwards, right? What I'm teaching the dog now is that I can control your head position outside the behavior of the heel. And remember how I said my actual marker board is a disposable behavior. It's a very loose criteria so that I can add other criteria, and I don't mind if I damage that one. So I actually don't even care. Like a lot of the time, the dog ends up kind of over the marker board, right? And I don't care if he's in a sit, a down, stand, doesn't matter, right? It's totally up to him, he's just on the marker board. All I care about is his head position, and that way I completely isolate the behavior of look at the helper, which is the reinforcer downfield, or look at me, which is over here, and I can control his head position. Then later, I can bring those two things together. I can use the marker board as a bridge if I want, and I can have him on the marker board here, and I can say fuss, and then I say helper, and he looks downfield. Now, imagine back to this being my negative reinforcement. I say fuss, and he's like, yep, got it, and I say helper, and he goes, I'm not quite sure I understand that. Now I can start tapping, tap, 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 and he's like, into the next behavior, stellar, boom, he goes downfield and gets whatever he's getting. So, that's cool, right? Now I can control my dog's head position without having to damage any of the behaviors that I have. But it kind of doesn't stop there. Before too long, I ditched that management. To be totally honest with you, I really only use that to get this process going. It's a couple of sessions. I get the dog understanding that way, this way, both these things are reinforcers. And then I want to get it so that it's pretty goddamn clear that this one down here is way higher value, right? So for most dogs, the dogs we like anyway, if you give them the choice, do you want the ball or do you want the food? The ball, right? If you give them the choice. So whatever the highest value thing is, and you can use the ball. I've even used, in this regard, a sleeve. I use like a traffic cone with a leg sleeve attached to it, right? Like, whatever you want, whatever the fuck your dog can smash into. And this is like, because we're trying to simulate bite work as close to as we can get, right? So even if you're doing IPO, you can have this here, right? It's no biggie. Or I've even seen and done 2 traffic cones with a sleeve hanging off of, like sitting on it like that, so the dog can just smash through and take that, okay? No worries. So there's a really high value reinforcer down here, right? Doesn't matter what it is, but it's the higher value one. And so, because our markers are loaded really well, our dog, when we say go to the marker board, there's the higher value thing down here. You go to marker, where does he choose to look? At the helper. And from there we can say, me, if those are your commands, right? And is he going to look when there's a really high value thing down there? He's going to be nudging towards there, and what do I have the capacity to do then? I just wait it. I just wait. Right? Some negative pressure. He turns. As soon as he looks at me, I have the option to click and pay him from me. But this is where it gets crazy. When the higher value thing is down here, he gets paid with both, no matter which order I choose to pay him in. That's what's important. So he's on that, and he's looking down there. I say me, and while he's looking at that, or looking at me, I can say Stella, and he runs down there and grabs that. And if it's the toy, what have I already trained my dog to do? Come back, play with me with the toy. So he runs down there and he grabs it. He brings his ball back to me. He plays with it. After the game is done, I click, I give him some food, I send him back to the marker, right? I reset, I put my ball down here. This time, I send him to the marker board, and I tell him to either look at the ball or to me. Again, it doesn't matter, but I must do both. And I can change my mind. I can say helper, I can say me, I can say helper again, it doesn't matter. But then I click, he must come to me, and this is why you pretty much got to have him on leash at this point. I use a flexi, so that if he says, fuck you, fuck your food, I'm taking the ball, we'll go, no, you have to take this, and I reel him in. But I click, he comes to me, I give him some food, and then what do? Send him to get the ball. right? So what my dog learns in this triangle is that I will tell him to either look downfield or I will tell him to look at me. And in doing either one of those, I can pay him by going downfield or I can pay him with the food that I have. But either way, he's going to get both. He's going to get both. So there's very little conflict. Of course he wants the ball more than he wants the food. But he goes, okay, I take the food and then I go get the ball. If I get the ball first, I play with the ball and then I click off and I have some food. Either way, he gets the same paycheck, it's just in a different order. Why do I give a fuck about that? We're still only working head position, right? Well, what we know about markers is, and commands, is I can change my mind, can't I? Right? So, imagine I've already preloaded this, which I must, right? I can go new signal, no function, old signal, strong function. So now my whistle is my clicker, okay? I can whistle my dog, and that has the same effect as the clicker. The dog comes back to me and takes the food that I have. Now, I've got my dog on the flexi lead. I tell him to look helper, me, helper, Stellan. On his way down there to get it, I whistle. What's he probably do? Fuck you, right? He's on leash. I stop him, by hook or by crook, I drag him back in. I make him take one of my shitty pieces of food or whatever it is, and then I go, okay, now go get it, all right? And I do the same thing again. I'll reload him. And I can still many, many times, in fact, more often than not, I should be honest with the dog and not change my mind. I put him onto there, I say, helper, Stellan, he gets it. He comes back to me, we play the game with the ball, I give him a piece of food, he goes back to the marker. Then I can have him on there, whether he's looking at the helper or looking at me, whichever one I've told him, doesn't matter. And then he comes to me, I give him some food, and then I say, Stellan, go get your ball. He comes back to me, we play, I out him, I send him back. The paycheck's the same, I just changed the order. But what I can do from time to time is change my mind on the order. So I can say to the dog, go to the marker board and look at the helper, right? While he's there, I say, yep, good job. Come to me and have food. And on his way to me, I say, Stellan, I change my mind. So he always believes that he could get paid very well. He will get the same payment no matter what. He'll get the food and he'll get the ball. But on the way to take one of those reinforcers, I could change my mind about which one it's going to be. And is he upset about the fact that I could change my mind? That makes no fucking difference. He gets both anyway. He gets both no matter what. So why the fuck is this important? Well, the other thing I should add is, like, right now we've been doing a lot of equilateral triangle, right? But it should also, you should move your position around as well, so that it's not just where you are relative to this. It can be a, help me out, isosceles triangle, and it can also be a obtuse triangle. I can be over here, right? So your position can move around, but the marker board and the helper are straight ahead. But you can also change that if you want. You can put the marker board here. That's why I like to have sides, because then I can tell my dog to down on the marker board. So now he's in the down, and I can from the down tell him helper, and he has to look over it there. And in the down, I can tell him look at me, and he has to turn around and look back at me this way, right? So I have to move this around. And from all of those different positions, whether he's looking at me or looking at the helper, I can say, Stellan, and he runs downfield, gets it, play with the ball, have some food from me, go to the marker, we reset. But enough times that he understands it, and I do this on leash so he can't get it wrong, is while he's looking at that helper or at me, I say, Stellan, and on my way down there, I change my mind. I say, you must come back to me, take my shitty food, have the piece, whether you want it or not, you take it, but he usually does because he knows the game. And then I say, good, you took what I want. Stellan, go down there and get that. And then he comes back to me and plays the game. So this silly little game that I can play totally by myself, what's one of the things I said, when I get access to a decoy, I want to fucking do light work. I don't want to be fucking around with my dog's head position. I don't want to be practicing call-offs. I can do all that shit alone, right? This totally transfers over because I've built up the value down here as high as it can be. And so long as the value down here is very high, if I want to, I can even ditch the food and have a very high value here as well, if I prefer, if I have an adult dog. So if I have a sleeve down there or a bite wedge or whatever that's sitting, I can have the ball here. That's fine too, because I have a marker that says, come and take it from me, right? And my whistle, because remember how that is generalized, I can go, come and take the ball, right? So my dog's learning this value transfer. So now when I put these things together, my call off looks like this. I don't need the marker board anymore. From the heel, I can tell my dog helper, he looks downfield. And if I want to, I can bring his head back up. I can just say fuss or me again. Boom, comes back into position. I can tell my dog helper, or from the fuss I can say Stellan, and on his way back down there, when I whistle, does that mean he's a loss and I'm calling him off? Nope, just means you've got to come back to me, take what I have, and then you get to go downfield and have the better thing that you have anyway. So I get my call off. Right? Means that I can train all those behaviours by myself. And when I have access to a decoy and I say, okay, I've got to finish this, I just finish it with the decoy. I can train 95% of my call off alone. And then see the best thing about this, you know what I've been saying for the last few days, I like the fucking dangerous dogs. I like the dogs that you got to be like careful of. They're my favourite dogs. There's no conflict in any of this, right? You get paid. I'm just changing the order that you get paid in. And if we really have reflexive responses to our markers, which is why it's worth putting the time into to get those, there's less than zero conflict. We're getting reflex responses back and forth. Okay, so our call off is not us telling the dog you can't have that. It's telling the dog I intend to pay you twice. Right? That's what happens. Now, truth be told, before I take questions, you actually have to be, if you train the call off in this manner, you actually have to be careful how often you use it, because the dog will prefer to call off, right?
That's because the value is higher.
Higher value to be called off. You get paid twice. Yeah. If you get called off, you get paid twice. And you can do this with 2 decoys as well. So like, I can run the triangle drill. It doesn't have to be me as holding the reinforcer. It could be a bite here, because now I control my dog's head position. And what you can do when you layer more of this shit in, you can start loading your, from the marker board, I can have multiple, where's my ball? You have multiple helpers. Right? So I can have multiple helpers down here, and I can start showing my dog that it's one over the other. Right? When I say helper, he just looks at one. Of course he does. And then I can be over here, and in the start, maybe I just push his head around. Stellan. And then I can give that helper command every time. Or you could even, what I'm layering in my own dog at the moment is I say next. So he looks at one decoy and I say next, and he snaps around to the next one. Next, the next one. Yeah, it's that. Alright? Stellan like that. Becomes super useful, right? And what's like, imagine a scenario of this. One of the things that's common in the sports, not in IPO, but this has a lot of function utility for IPO, right? You don't have a call off, but you do need to control, like in the back transport, the dog with their head position. So you've got that. But in the rest of the sport, something that's going to happen for sure is there will be a moment in most sports, especially in the upper level, where my dog will be in a heel, and perhaps a decoy comes over and agitates the dog, and I expect him to maintain the heel. For me, it will be helpful for my dog to see the decoy agitated, right? Put some more power into him and piss him off, and put some praise, and that's the decoy I'm going to apply. So I would say to my dog in that moment, helper, and he looks and the decoy pisses him off, agitations. He's trying to break the position, but because I have him trained, he's not going to break the position. And then what happens in some of these sports is that the decoy who's done that here to my dog then goes around a series of obstacles, right, and comes down here, and then I get told, send the dog to bite. And if my dog sees the decoy take that route, there's a chance he's going to take that route as well, whereas the points are in going straight over. So what I would want to do in that position is the decoy comes in, agitates my dog, I say, helper, look at him, take the power that you want from him, and then when the decoy goes to take a route I don't want my dog to see, I say, look at me, he looks up at me, we look at each other, decoy gets into position, I say helper, and as far as he knows, the decoy just went straight to that other position. And what does he do? Takes the direct route. Straight through, bashes through the barricade, the obstacle, whatever, 4 points. There's lots of different shit like this. Maybe I want my dog, in the down, I want to be able to control my dog's position, especially in the breed sports. You might have to put the dog in the down in like a bizarre situation, and the down implies to the dog, certainly if you're out of sight, that he's allowed to look around, right? In IPO, not so much because you might have to look at the blind or the long down, he gets to look at your back. But in some of the sports, there is no blind. You don't know where the fuck you're going to go in the long down. So the dog's head is free and he can be looking around, right? And you can tell him as you go and say, look at that. Put him in the down, helper. That's what you stare at. Or, I know where I'm going to be. And as he goes into the down, I say, me. And from the down, because I did this in my different triangle work, he has to watch me the whole way. I don't want you seeing what's going on. And so then there's decoys over here trying to get his attention, trying to fuck him up. And he's like, no, I'm blind to it. I got told to look at him. Alright? Pretty fucking useful exercise. This is one of the reasons I'm like, hey, teach your dog go to a market board. Oh, Pat, you're carrying on about the market board so much. This is yet another super powerful behaviour that you can train 100% by yourself. You got a ball and some food, or your dog's toy and a marker board. You can train this. You can put 95% of the work of your call off into this, right? And then when you see a decoy, you can use your decoy time efficiently instead of wasting that decoy's time and doing call off where your dog doesn't bite. You can teach all that shit at home and do the bite work and